Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing awesome. Thanks to everyone who came by on the last video and supported it, everyone who came by and liked, really appreciate it. Today I'm going to be talking about the exceptional status tag that is given out to, as you guessed, exceptional players in the Canadian Hockey League. Players have to be considered exceptional while they're playing in their midget programs, and they are either obviously accepted or declined, and there are only a couple players over the three leagues of the QMJHL, the OHL, and the WHL that have been given these franchise tags, and I will be going over them today. Now, the most recent player that gave me the idea for this video that just got granted exceptional status at the age of 14 was Connor Bedard, and he is set to play the entire season with the Regina Pats of the WHL, and he's already doing really well. And the last time I saw, I think he had 5 points in 5 games, and he's not looking out of place at all. He's the first player from Western Canada to be granted this exceptional status tag. Now, obviously, there's not a lot to talk about Connor Bedard yet because he hasn't accumulated the career that some other players on this list have, but I'm sure that's going to change in the very near future, especially after this full year with the Regina Pats. Now, the first player ever to be granted exceptional status was current Toronto Maple Leaf captain John Tavares. He was selected in 2005 by the Oshawa Generals and was the first player ever to be granted this status. In this year, he won CHL Rookie of the Year in 2006 and followed that up with CHL Player of the Year of 2007. So that's a pretty big honor for him to have CHL Player of the Year because that covers all 3 leagues in the CHL, and you have to be pretty damn good to be given that award. Now, so since he was the first person to be given exceptional status, there was a couple things that were coming up. Now, there was a real push for John Tavares to be eligible for the 2008 NHL draft at 17 years old. That was ultimately unsuccessful, and alongside of that, the people who were pushing for it had another agenda. They wanted to let him into the American Hockey League as a 17-year-old, which also failed. Now, I can kind of understand where they're coming from. Maybe when he was in the league, they were looking at him and maybe he was playing above his competition, and they were thinking maybe for the benefit of him, just to get him into a league that's going to develop him better. I really don't think that was a problem. I think one day if the league shifts over to that mindset again of allowing players maybe to be drafted a year earlier. But what do you guys think? Do you think that maybe would water down the competition and maybe let players in that truly are not ready for the pro level? Now, all throughout the 2008-2009 season in the OHL, he was a consensus first-ranked prospect and ultimately was drafted first overall by the New York Islanders in the 2009 NHL draft. Now, there's been a lot of talk lately about Tavares not holding up his end for getting that tag that he got and being called exceptional. But I really think he did, and I just look back, he just scored 47 goals. He was the captain of the Islanders for 9 seasons and carried them on his back, like I talked about in the last video. I think he still took it upon himself to show off his God-given talent and develop into a superstar in the league. Now, the second player in the CHL to be granted exceptional status was Aaron Ekblad. Now, in 2010-11, he won his minor midget AAA championship with the Sun County Panthers in Belle River, Ontario. He applied for exceptional status and was approved unanimously only after a 6-week review period. Now, Ekblad, if you look at him in his press conference when he was with the Barrie Colts for the first time in their uniform, he already looked like a man. And I was just having a conversation with someone about this, about how these players just seem like they're years ahead developmentally, and it's not even about their hockey skill, it's just about that they already look like they're ready for the next level. Now, Aaron Ekblad was the first defenseman to be granted exceptional status, and in the 2014 OHL coaches poll in his draft year, given top honors, earning first place finishes for best shot, hardest shot, best offensive defenseman, and defensive defenseman. He was also voted second in the category for penalty killer, just falling behind Scott Lawton. And all this happening in his draft year just solidified the fact that he was going first overall. And that's what happened. He was selected first overall in the 2014 NHL draft by the Florida Panthers. Now, him getting best offensive and defensive defenseman, I could still see him being a Norris candidate or even a winner in his future. But the defensive aspect of his game has always been a little suspect, and that's something that a lot of people really give him a lot of heat for. But he has emerged as Florida's best defenseman, and he's a steady defenseman. And you can put him out there in pretty much any situation, and he's not going to be a liability. But defense will come with time. This guy needs no introduction, but we're going to do it anyways. Connor McDavid. He was granted exceptional status in the OHL to play in the 11-12 season. The Erie Otters are not a really storied franchise in the OHL. Connor ended up breaking a lot of records for the Erie Otters that weren't that high, but by the end of his junior career, he was the most decorated junior player in OHL history. Now in 2011-12, he put up an astounding stat line. 79 goals, 130 assists for 209 points, all in the span of 88 games at his minor midget level. And he was named the GTHL Player of the Year. So he didn't put up any points on the board in his first game in the OHL. A bust, I know, right? But it only took him to his second game when he decided he was going to start a 15-game point streak. He achieved 37 assists and making him the Erie Otters franchise leader in assists by a rookie. He finished the season with the most assists by an OHL rookie with 41, and he was second in scoring for first-year players with 66 points. Now, his draft years where it became a little bit more interesting. Obviously, he was going to be named captain, and that's what happened, and he was on a tear, but he ended up breaking his hand in a fight when he missed a punch and ended up punching the glass. I was watching that game, and back then I didn't really watch many OHL games, but I had to watch Connor McDavid. Even after missing a significant amount of time, he still finished third in scoring in the OHL. And I remember a lot of analysts and people in general were saying that because he broke his hand, they weren't going to take him first overall. I think all you had to do was really watch Connor McDavid in a game to really know that that was absolute bogus. He was going to be first overall because these type of players are generational. They're not just the first overall pick. They are a generational player. So obviously he was taken first overall and by the Edmonton Oilers that year. And he absolutely has not looked back. He has been consistently scoring 100 points or more a season. And even in shortened seasons, he has been on pace to break his own records every single year. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him hit the 150-point mark at some point. Me, being only 23 years old, I know it's a little biased because I haven't seen the likes of Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. Connor McDavid is the best player I have ever seen in my lifetime, with respect to the aforementioned players. Now, moving on to the next one, we're just going to make these ones a little more short because they don't have as big career sample sizes to work with. Now, Joseph Valeno. He was given exceptional status in the QMJHL on June 14th, 2015, the first player in the Quebec Major Junior League to be given that status. Now, I think Joe Valeno was one of the first players that really brought into question what it means to be exceptional. He was the first player to be given the exceptional status that did not end up getting drafted first overall into the NHL. Instead, he was drafted 30th overall by the Detroit Red Wings. But there is a clear gap between players that are listed earlier on this list. He is not on the same level as the likes of Connor McDavid and Aaron Ekblad and John Tavares. And this has actually brought up a conversation about possibly eliminating the status. Now, he's not playing for the Detroit Red Wings right now, and due to COVID, he's playing for the Malmo Redhawks in the SHL on a loan. And due to how the rules work in the league, he's not eligible to be returned to the NHL until the Redhawks season wraps up. Now to the most interesting and disappointing player that has ever been granted exceptional status, Defenseman Sean Day. Day was granted exceptional status in 2013, and like I said, he's the most major disappointment when it comes to names on this list. So he ended up being drafted into the OHL by the Mississauga Steelheads and got traded mid-season to the Windsor Spitfires, winning the Memorial Cup with them. After his time was up in the OHL, he immediately began his pro career, signed a 3-year contract with the New York Rangers, and started on their AHL affiliate, the Hartford Wolfpack. Now this is where the story kind of gets a little bit more interesting, as he was drafted 81st overall by the New York Rangers. So from the time he was granted exceptional status to the point of developing throughout and not even being drafted in the NHL yet, he was showing some serious decline in his game. And out of all fairness to Sean Day, he did make it public that being granted exceptional status and having that expectation on him was a huge reason why he had a lot of confidence issues in reaching that ceiling and that potential. So he only played 6 games with the Hartford Wolfpack in his first year, and he was demoted to the Maine Mariners of the East Coast Hockey League. And if you guys aren't familiar with how the East Coast Hockey League works, it's basically you get on buses and you're doing 10-hour bus rides to your next place. Or it's very similar to how the Canadian Hockey League works. So now, Day's problem was that he showed up almost 50 pounds overweight to one of his training camps. And that led to a lot of people questioning his work ethic and his commitment to his own well-being, his fitness levels, and committing to actually reaching his potential. On May 30th, 2020, Sean Day was placed on unconditional waivers for the purpose of terminating the last year of his contract. He cleared waivers, so that just shows a player that was granted exceptional status cleared waivers. Signed a 1-year contract, 2-way with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and currently plays for the Syracuse Crunch of the American Hockey League. Now, I'm really hopeful for Sean Day. I want to see him turn this around, and it's a little bit funny to think that he's the same age as me, and being written off that early in your life must be a really big hit to your ego and really discouraging, but I think he can carve out a good professional hockey career. Now, the last player in honorable mention, we're going to say, is Shane Wright of the OHL Kingston Frontenacs. I don't think he's really going to have a problem with reaching his potential. They're kind of comparing him to John Tavares and Sidney Crosby, but we'll kind of see. You don't want to put those expectations on someone too early. But he came into the league as a 15-year-old and scored 39 goals for a horrible Kingston Frontenac team. And again, we won't get too into him because he has not played more than a year in the Ontario Hockey League and obviously isn't eligible for the NHL draft until the 2022 NHL draft. But I believe that Shane Wright definitely will be a stud. So what's your guys' opinion on this exceptional status? Should it exist? What measures should they take to put the players through and to evaluate them? Do you think the ones that are in place are good enough? My personal opinion is that you can't judge a player that young. You can't look at a player who's 14 turning 15 and be able to gauge how they will play against people above what they are used to playing with. And even if they succeed in the Canadian Hockey League, there's no guarantee that they're going to be NHL caliber players. But we're going to wrap this one up here. Hope you guys are enjoying the content and the last couple videos. I'm recording this just before the Leafs game, so hopefully that goes well. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you're all doing awesome. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.